hearing looping on my end, and I'm not sure why, so give me a minute. Okay, I'm hearing looping on my... I had to set up on a different browser because YouTube is giving me an attitude again. Alright, give me a minute. We'll get started. Alrighty. Happy post 4th of July to the Americans and to the rest of you. Happy Saturday. We're at the weekend. Alright, so I'm not going to waste time, just going to dive right into it. So today, I'm going to be kind of showcasing a little bit of the changes coming in Omega Game Framework version 1.7. Nowhere near all of them. But I do have a list of notes. This will probably be a tad shorter. I didn't sleep great, and it's hot in my room, and I also am starting to get carpal tunnel in my arm, so I got to wear a brace. So, yeah, but hey, we still got stuff to show, so let's get started. So, where's OBS? Down we go. All right. Here we are. So, my finger itches. I need water. All right. So, yeah, lots of changes, namely for the sake of streamlining the development process coming in OGF 1.7. I want to, because the whole goal, again, is try to make a framework where you can kind of jump in to a new project and get a prototype up, like, within an hour, a full prototype up within like a day or two maybe, and actually just start making the content for the game, the fun stuff, rather than needing to constantly work on your back end code, and constantly squashing bugs. And I want you to actually get to the fun stuff. So keeping things as simple as possible. So in addition to that, like I said, I'm working on some templates for showcasing stuff. I do have one on GitHub now, on the main branch, though it is outdated. It's a very basic template. So I'm working on the new version of that template as well as some other ones. But those are on the dev branch. And I'm probably going to try to, both for this and Omega, just sort of... I've tried to keep the main branch clear until I have stuff ready to go and safe to build, because I know I'm not going to massively change it. I'm going to instead add a new branch to both of those, or I have added a new branch called the dev branch on both the templates and on the official Omega plugin folder, or plugin GitHub. And that's kind of where I'll be dumping all my progress, even as stuff changes. So you can check that out, see the changes, but they are very volatile. I may add something one day, completely scrap it the next, or a month later scrap something I added to the dev branch just because I found a better way to do it. So don't get too attached to stuff on there. But if you want to poke around, it is there. 1 second. Okay, so what you're looking at right now is the basic template. This is going to be the, hang on, my finger's itching. This is the simplest template. It's got the least amount of stuff in it, and it's one of the ones that are available now. So I guess I could run through it a little bit. Part of the streamlining process is trying to reduce as many blueprints as possible. Namely by nativizing stuff to C++. So in this case, one of the big ones is characters, because as I've been working on namely Normal Academy, but also Circle of Orion, I found out that adding potentially hundreds of blueprint characters across many levels isn't actually great for editor performance, because when you make a change to those, it's got to recompile them. There's all sorts of issues that come along with it. It's not very stable. So instead, I've been trying to make a default Omega character class that just works right out of the box and covers most of your needs. So we stacked with all sorts of components. Look aim, which is for, basically head look. Zone entry, which is for like mini maps. Gameplay pause, skin, subscript, actor visibility, actor state, leveling, inventory, equipment, combatant, state tree. All the stuff that you would potentially need for for most types of characters in Omega Game Framework. And there's a few different character types, if I can actually go to the OGF category. So there's the base character, which is everything. There's a reference character, which is actually not deleted on spawn, hidden on spawn, and has its collision removed, because it's meant to be just a reference point for a character, like for dialogue or for teleporting actors, stuff like that. Encounter character, which is just the normal character, but it has, I think this one's still a work in progress, it has stuff for a combat encounter in it. So this would be like a field enemy that triggers a turn-based battle. Cutscene character, which is a character that just simply uses, at least right now, the actor ID component, because cutscene characters would be lighter weight, they don't need all the extra code, as well as many other things I'm working on. So you can see there is an Omega Game Framework actor tab. I have something, so let me just kind of run through these. Can I select the environment? Okay. But yeah, like you can, as I showed off in the last stream, you can just drop an environment actor in here, immediately get lighting, fog, and all your different effects you need. There's a PCG component, there's some post-processing. You can use a skybox instead. And of course, you can use environment, wherever they are, hang on. Yeah, environment presets, like day, evening, night. These are some of the default ones. You can set up your own. That's environment. Event volume, this was kind of useful. This is just a volume that can trigger events under certain conditions, and it's very scriptable. So if you go up here, we have a trigger script, so like when an actor overlaps this, and you can determine what actors, after a certain timer, when it receives an... Actually, this one needs to be removed because I'm going to remove the combatant. But, and you can create your own of these because they're scriptable on interaction. Interact is a interface that is added recently. And then you can trigger some events, like running a gameplay system, or playing a sound. No, that's a linear sequence, or playing a flow asset. Again, just trying to simplify the amount of blueprints you need. So you have this one out of the box, and it's highly customizable. So like a common one for me would be, when I run into this area, I want to trigger a dialogue event. So there I would do, I think, actor overlap. I'll probably change this one right now. It's accepted controllers. So like if this is a player controller, and then let me get rid of this one. Then I would trigger this, and you can trigger the flow asset as a dialogue or as its own. That gets into some pretty more complicated elements of Omega, well, I don't think I have time to get into this, but it has to do with some of the demo systems. Okay. Obviously, zone transit. So when you walk in here, it'll send you to either a spawn point or another zone transit. So to handle transitioning between zones, selecting zone transit. A lot of this stuff, yeah, has been in here for a while. I don't know how much of it I've gone over. But anyway, so yeah, back to the template. This is the basic template that we're going to be showing off. There's a nifty little actor you can see right here. This is a debug note. And yeah, it allows you to add clearer notes to your world. You can give a position where an arrow points, add things like coloring to the note. You can actually create assets for different developers in your game. Like in here, if I go to the folder, let's create a new folder called dev. Or, yeah, dev. Go and create developer. Dev. Kais in this case. It's information you can add about that developer who's working on your game. Add them in here. This is also pretty early on feature because I would like to at least have it as an option to where dev assets are not included in the build for obvious reasons. But you don't need those. So yeah, you can see like who left a notes anywhere when you're working on a game. But these show off examples. Here's another one, floating interactable. So this goes along with the interactable system, which I don't believe I've showed off, but it's a very, very simple system where, let me just pull up the level to show how it works. It's basically for just any sorts of interaction between actors. Commonly, you as the player walk up to an actor, hit the interact button, and it triggers some event like a dialogue. But if I do get actor subsystem, get omega actor subsystem, I can do perform interaction. Alright, you get an instigator actor, a target actor, then you can add a tag and an object for context. Very simple. You can also set up a sign on interaction. You can add a binding for it to like catch whenever an interaction happens, which I can show off in a minute in the exploration system. You can also Interactable. You have an interface on an actor for when they are interacted with, and you can check who interacted with them, what the tag and context is. So here we have this floating interactable. This is essentially just something that has that interface, as well as you can give it a name, you can give it a flow, which is the main dialogue system that is used. Also things like an actor identity, give it actor a configuration. But yeah, and it has things like a camera, and then you can just drop in space. And again, this is a built-in actor class, so you don't need to make these yourself because they're a very common actor used across games. Same thing with characters. You can give them, let's close that. You can assign them, give them an asset, which I can like change that to green. It changes them to green. In fact, let me go and show how that works. So, I believe this is the default cast. Actually, we'll come back to that because I have that in my list to go over later. Anyway, interaction. So, let's go. Actually, let me go here. If I go into main, blueprints, systems. So the main gameplay system, as I think I showed in the last stream, is the exploration system. This is like your main game state when you can actually move around. You have the main player HUD here. You have the pawn input mode. It's tagged to system. But yeah, and here you have stuff that happens. Events that are called when the system is activated, like getting the camera configuration, activating the camera, setting up a binding for actor interaction. So this makes sure that excuse me, when the player triggers an interaction, which I'll go over that in a minute, it only does anything if we're actually on the exploration mode, to prevent bugs outside of it. So you can't accidentally trigger an interaction that you don't want, like while you're in dialogue, for example. This checks if if the instigator is a player, checks if the target has a flow asset with this interface, which is already used in floating interactables and characters. Then, in this case, we set them as a binding to know they're the last thing we interacted with. Then we run the dialogue system. Now, this is just a macro that accesses your gameplay settings, which is another, if I go down, I think to here. Yeah, you can assign some default systems, like your dialogue system, which is a custom system here. I'm not going to go over that because I'm just trying to basically show some of this stuff off. But yeah, that's how you perform an interaction. So if I fire this up, it may take a minute to load, and walk up to one of these guys and have it set to E.
Hello there. How are you doing? Awesome. We'll see you.
It has a bit of dialogue going on.
You must be new here. Nice to meet you. Feel free to look around.
Yep. Now it's triggering because in exploration I have these components, which I believe are called ability input trigger, and there's also just I think simple input simple, and these are easy components where you just add them in. Then you can assign keys, and it means when those keys are triggered, it'll try to activate this ability, or in this case, just it'll run. If I find this, it'll run this delegate whenever this input is triggered. So it's a way of like creating and setting inputs to a specific system, kind of isolating them. It's an easier way of trying to streamline the process. Yetsex, oh, thank you for coming. So right now I'm working with Unreal 5.5. The main problem is once I upgrade to 5.6, it's very hard to go back. So I might do a build of 5.6. When this is ready, I will try to do a build of 5.6 for the main plugin. But for now, I'm only working in 5.5 because there really isn't a great. There's no feature in 5.5 that would really benefit OGF at the moment. So I'm kind of staying away from it just because then I need to upgrade pretty much all my projects to 5.6. Otherwise, it's a real pain in the butt to keep parity across both versions. All right. Anyway, back to just quickly on input. This is the example I wanted to show. Yep. So when I hit E or the top-facing gamepad button, it'll try to run this ability. Omega Interact. I can also set it where it automatically grants whatever character it's bound to. You can set the combatant that's using it outside of it. It'll automatically try to get the parent combatant, but in this case, since this is a system, it doesn't have a combatant, so I set it to the player's combatant here. Now if I pull up the Omega Interact ability, this is a demo ability. It comes with Omega. You may want to just copy it and modify it, or you may want to use it out of the box. But yeah, when the ability is activated, we try to run a perform interaction, then complete. We also have a sphere here. It's in front of the character. That when an actor overlaps that sphere, first we check to make sure if they're actually added to the actor type interactable group. And that they're not the owning character. And if they're not, then we're going to set them as our active target. My finger. So that's how... Yeah, that's... do I want to have more? I guess to go more over this... Let me actually go to the start, because I try to make these relatively full templates. So they do come with both a splash screen and a title screen. We'll go to the splash screen to show off. So if I go ahead and hit play, then we have we'll show our splash screens. There's a system, because this uses the default splash system to auto set graphics from the benchmark. We're not going to do that right now. Then it's going to load the title screen. Things like the splash images you can set and get from the slate settings. So I believe they're right here, splash images. So if I go ahead and let me see, let's do the white one and get rid of this one. Close that out. There you go. And no, then it sends us to the title screen. Am I on the splash? Yeah, and it'll give you more information on the level blueprint. But for now, let's go back to the title screen, kind of show off how this template works. So, yep, you can hit any key to start. You have options for loading a game, adjusting settings. This is the built-in settings menu for Omega. You'll probably want to create your own. But it does have some default stuff for like graphics and audio and game, and all these can be changed, of course. If I go back, let's go to, I want to do load game. No, yeah, new game. Welcome to this Omega game template. When you're done, you can come talk to me, meaning that guy. So then, yeah, you can just run around like normal. Let's talk to this fella.
Hello, I'm an example of using
This character
subscripts.
actually needs his dialogue updated because I made voice the lines when he was using subscripts. Now he's using a state tree for his AI. And let's see.
My
yeah,
subscript wander reduces my speed when I spawn.
His
Lets me
audio.
wander around my
He's
spawn
explaining
location.
now that because Omega characters have so many components, one of them is a state tree. He's using that to wander around. So like if we eject for a second, select this guy, we can find his state tree right here, which is included in the demo stuff. I believe if I go to, is it debugger? Asset window, debugger, yes. Tracking. Maybe I have to run. Well, it is running, so I'm not sure why I can't check the debugger on him. Can't find live section trace. Well, let's try this again. No, wait, let's go. All right, probably because it wasn't on the right map. So let's just go to the tests. No, okay, we're just gonna ignore that. This isn't a tutorial on state trees. You guys should look up other stuff if you want to know how state trees work. Rantpon, I was about to read your message. I did see it, okay? I saw what you posted. But thank you for coming. I am genuine or not. I am hoping you. I hope you use the framework, and I hope it's very useful for you. But anyway, back to the title screen because I want to show this from the start. So when I hit New Game here, and again, this is all. Let's go to the. My brain's working at 100 miles an hour. So all right, let's start over. So this is the title screen. If we look up here in the outliner, you can see we have like the actor or the environment thing, of course. But then we also have this nifty little actor called Omega Auto Menu. Like it says, this automatically runs a... Well, that's okay, Rampon. I'm thank you for being here. But let's see. So this, runs opens menu, Omega menu with a potential context and tag. And this probably needs some updating with new systems, but yeah, oops. And it has a camera with it. So in this case, it's opening up the title menu. This is also useful if you have like say a menu with a transitionary state. Like in one game I'm working on, there when you finish a mission, you go to a level that shows mission results, and I use this where it opens up the missions menu, and when it finishes, it goes to the HUD. The HUD menu. But anyway, if we go to Omega Title, right here. Here we go, title screen. And I also want to, like, in this, hope you guys can notice how few actors and blueprints of variables I'm actually using. Because that's the whole point, is to reduce as much of that as possible. You can have, like, copyright info, press key to start, because there's a widget state we can switch between. If we go to the scripting of it, yeah, this is all we use. So when the menu starts up, first we start playing the BGM. When we hit confirm, if we're on the this state, we'll go to this state, which is right here. Then we'll run reset menu, which this is run when the menu is open, but you can also run it at any time. Is a built-in reset function, which hovers at our first entry. And then when we select one of the options, as long as it isn't quit, which is labeled specifically, it'll open up a sub-menu. So from here, if we check out, like, the new game sub-menu and open up new game, you can potentially use this menu to add things like difficulty select in, but right now it's blank because it's simple. And instead, all that happens is it creates a new game, starts that game, and then gets the quest. And actually, I should change this to use the quest. Well, basically, it starts this quest right here, because Omega uses a quest system, which is it says chapter 1, it should be chapter 0. But, yep, and because this uses a flow graph instead of some of the other options, if I go and hit new game, there you go. You can see if we go to the flow graph that, it's running right here. So we opened up our new map, and now we're running a dialogue event. If we go out of this, you can see now we're in this state where we're waiting for a global event called Game End. But I can run around and do other stuffs. In fact, let's start another quest by talking to this guy.
Hey, can you help me with something?
So we'll hit yes. Actually, let me open up his dialogue too to show this off even further. So if I go to dialogue, I believe this one's just called quest. It'll show on his like if I select him because he's the purple guy. Yeah, and we'll go down to details. Yep, his dialogue is quest, which is this one. You can see running in the flow graph where all the dialogue stuff is. So I'm going to agree to help him.
Awesome, thanks. Can you talk to that yellow fellow and come back?
See, I'm cutting to a new camera using this node right here, which then starts us a new quest, which, hang on. No, I want to click out of there. There we go. If I go to content browser and go to, I think it's under quests. Yeah, we've started this quest here. You can see that in here as well. He said to talk to the yellow guy, so if we talk to him here.
Hello there. Nice to meet you.
And what's neat about the way this is set up is that it actually sort of, using this event, await interact, it sort of hijacks the interaction thing, so instead of playing his normal dialogue, you can play this custom one. which it actually isn't.
How are you doing?
I just realized it's not doing that,
Awesome.
so
Well,
this is actually a bug I'll need to get sorted out. It should have been playing a
Hello. How are you?
custom
Awesome.
event, but it's not. Okay. Well, guess what? That's what the testing is for. But when we're done, we can just go to him, and that interaction thing isn't working. Okay. So, well, it's bugged. So this is why it's in dev and not final release. But yeah, demonstration of kind of the basic template and some of the simple stuff. Like you saw the pause menu as well. Very, very simple. I also have a JRPG and a platformer template that are in early development, but not really enough to show. All right, now let's move on to talking about some of the new features. So, one of the I'd say some of the main new features I've added that are going to be super useful and help me simplify a lot of my other features are actor modifiers and actor conditions. These are just scripts essentially that let's see. We'll do what they say: actor mod, modifiers, not modifiers container. That's something else. We'll say mods and conditions. Actor conditions. Keep misspelling stuff. Actor conditions. And these are scriptable objects that allow you to, well, in this case, say check conditions on an actor. Like this. Or run modifications on the actor. So like, let's see. So like if I run this, first we would edit this. We would check to see if they have an equipment component, then edit their equipment. We could play a montage on them. On conditions, we can check like, hey, there's a common filter which checks, are they a certain class? Do they have certain tags? Do they have a certain interface? Are they part of a tag group? Do they have certain equipment in certain item slots? The main thing that's cool about this is that because it's scriptable, it allows a wider variety of options that don't need to be hard-coded. To give an example of this, to give an example of this, why don't I switch over to the JRPG template, which may not have a ton of stuff done on it, but I think I can demonstrate one of the ways this is used. If I go up JRPG, we'll go here. Give it a second to load. Water's good. Water's good because it's really hot where I am right now. And okay, the work in progress. Let's see, transition. There we go. And by at the start of work in progress JRPG template, but if I go into here, let's go to equipment types. This is actually a good example. So I can go to equipment types is also a new asset asset added with Omega Game Framework hard coded for essentially it's just a way you can run conditions on a piece of equipment on a data asset to see if it can be added to an equipment slot with the equipment component. But let's grab the I think a good example to do this is, let's say, mail armor. So initially the way I designed like this is I would have a bunch of checks like, all right, for this asset, let's check, I want to have a tag for checking what tags the owner of the equipment has and what tags the piece of equipment has. But I would essentially add in a ton of variables that mostly would not be used. And what's cool about this, like here I have equip conditions, which is just an actor conditional. This checks the owning actor of whatever the equipment is, and then you can just script in some conditions here, and you can make them whatever you want. So like for this piece of armor, I run the equipment condition to check and see if the equipment slot, because you can use equipment slots for more than just items. Like in this case, I have a slot for the character's sex, which probably just saying that got me demonetized, but whatever. That's fine with me. monetize anyway. Anyway, it checks if it has this male data asset in it, and I can run other stuff to say, hey, this equipment height requires a character to have a certain skill, like requires it to have the level 1 fire spell, and it's very, very flexible, especially since you can write your own. Like, I can go into here and say actor condition. Yeah, so omega condition actor, and just a con. Test. We'll just do test just to demonstrate. If you understand how like instance objects work, you should get this. But we'll say falling. Falling. I don't even know if this interface does anything. That's not the point. And if these are matching, and then in here, not that you would ever use this one, but boom, there you go. So, it allows for a much wider variety of possibilities, with a much lower number of variables, and allows you to get a lot more creative. And that's kind of the idea. Same thing with actor modifiers. Like if I go to, let me get rid of this. If I go to one of the dialogues, test float. I don't know what this does. Yeah. Hypothetically, in this dialogue, instead of needing to create tons and tons of different nodes for all the different possible things you could do with an actor, instead I just have actor modify. I selected the actor using the actor selector. So in this case, let's get the player pawn, and let's edit their equipment. Weapon. So now we're in the player pawn's equipment component. We're putting the sword in slot 1, and again, they're all scriptable. So again, trying to give you as much control over as wide area as possible. So like, let's go to the interactability. Potentially one area you could use this, like I have this component called an actor targeting component, which is meant to put actors in a group and then have one of them targeted as a time. And you use some options here for like running modifications when an actor is registered to the list, when it's set as the active target or removed, and conditions as to whether they can be registered at all. You know, instead of what I had before, which is just a bunch of variables for checking tags and classes and stuff like that. So, that's one of the big new additions, and should free up, hopefully help make things a lot simpler, as some of the templates, hopefully the JRPG template especially, will demonstrate doing. Let's talk about debug profiles. Debug profiles are another feature I am adding, which allow you to essentially run modifications to your save game to test different possible states. So if let's add a dummy folder right here. Test. Let's make debug profile. Profile 1. Now there's some built-in stuff like let's see. Actually, I don't know if that works, but auto start quest. This is the one I use most common. If we check this, it'll automatically try to start any of the quests loaded here whenever this profile is loaded. As well as you can also run scripts here on different things to do when this profile is loaded. So you can modify different variables, run dialogue. And you can run this by going, let's see, up to level blueprint, going to, let's see, omega. This is admittedly very early work in progress, but I do use it quite a bit. So if I go to Debug System and then Profile, you can run a specific profile, or you can run your default profile. Default profile is set up with the debug settings. Let's see if I look up debug, omega settings debug, settings 0 debug. If I load that up, yeah, you can set up whether run it as well as select your profile, and you can also set up remember to set your Debug settings, we'll go to the Omega debug and set it up here. So yeah, if you need to switch between different sort of like save states to test stuff out, this is a way to do it. But one thing that makes this especially useful is a if I pull this up, is a a utility widget that I've added called. Maybe I can load it up here. Okay, so for right now, you actually need to go to the Omega plugin to find it. But if you go into, I believe, editor, you can find this Omega control panel. Run editor utility widget, and in here you actually have a few different tabs, which Lua caller. I don't know if I'm going to keep this. Data item editor will probably be removed, but the main ones right now are save inspector and debug profile, which actually allow you to give you essentially a widget where you can directly modify this stuff. So I can, hammer M on profile 1. I can make modifications to it, while also having the actual debug settings here to edit. So if I don't think I have anything set up on the JRPG. 1 second, I'm gonna sneeze. Okay. But so you can edit that directly from here. So like you can quickly switch between profiles before starting a new game. But what's also cool is if I go ahead and run this game now. If I go back over here, let's open up Save Inspector. This is the more useful one. This will show your current game and global save. So you can see all the parameters that are currently running on it, and you can modify them. You can modify, things like game time, modify values on specific save quests, modify things like your tag and variable values. And so, yeah, it's another way of debugging stuff by editing these save files directly. Because, yeah, editing is debugging. Something I've had to do a lot more of as we expand and scale. So this is a way to edit values quickly. But yeah, remember, these will be in... You'll have to go to Omega Game Framework, the plugin, and go under Editor. But then you run Omega Control Panel, and then it should just permanently stay in your settings for that project, so you don't have to do that every time. All right, let me run through. That's most of the notes I had. Hang on another second. All right. I mean, the only other thing I guess I wanted to show off, which I did a little bit of, was the common data assets. I'll pull up the main folder because it'll be easier to see. These are just some something to be on the lookout for. I have added, if you go to the Omega tab and go to Common, I'm trying to add a lot of different, let's say this, demo or common data asset types you might use. Now, these are not core functionality. This is the idea, is these are just common iterations of different Omega functions or different ways they might be implemented. So if not common interactable, I wanted to do... You don't need to use any of these. In fact, often you may want to create your own versions of it. But if I open it up, let's go to common item. Is that a good one? No. I think common character, because that's one I use quite a bit. In fact, these might all be common characters. Yes, they are. So if I open up one of these are all use the common character blueprint. And yeah, these type of things like actor modifiers you can run on certain tag events that their owning actor has. Actor modifier on initialization, because these are you will apply these to the actor identity. So things like that's how you get things like their mesh. Modifications, they're things for sound library, animation library, and their flow asset. Sound and animation library are other data assets I have added. Yeah, maybe something you're picking up on is there's a lot of stuff that I'm skimming over, because, yeah, like I said, there's numerous changes and updates to OGF, and it's way too much to go over here, and I want to design it in a way where I don't need to make as extensive documentation, because it's a lot easier to understand. But, yeah, right now it's a bit of, it's admittedly a bit of a mess, and that's why it's taking so long to come out, because I'm trying to clean it up and make it simple and understandable. So, that is, I guess, more or less all I wanted to show off now. Just kind of, the main thing, I guess, that I really wanted to demonstrate was the actor the actor conditions and actor modifiers, because that is hopefully going to revolutionize a lot of coding and simplify a lot of things. But yeah, so that I'm afraid that's really all I had to show off for this time. If anyone has any questions, they can toss them in here. I will try to answer them. But I don't have an ETA for when this version of the plugin will be ready, or when the templates will be ready. Like I said, I'll be updating the dev branches as frequently as possible, and then so like if anyone wants to look at them, poke around them, or try building them themselves, they can. But yeah, I'm still making a lot of decisions on how I want to. Basically on what level things should be done in C++ and what level I should leave them up for the player to do to the developer to make themselves in Blueprint. You know, the balance that flexibility with ease of use. So because I don't want this to be one of those things that's so complicated and has so many different moving parts to it that it's like, well, why not just build one myself? You know. Because that's the issue. Is people will be like, why not build my own framework? Because it'll be as much work as trying to figure all this out, and I want to avoid that. So, thank you, Rampon, for that. Yeah, I would like this to get to a level where, you know, people can just dive in and start doing stuff pretty quickly without too much roadblock. I'm very much inspired by, of all things, RPG Maker for the design, because that's a very easy to use engine, and you know things are just going to work in it, and so that's kind of what I would like to approach this as. Is you don't need to spend forever debugging everything and making sure your backend works. You just know your backend is almost certainly going to work, and you can start working on front end and content, because that's the fun stuff. So anyway, I guess that's the update for this month. I'll try to keep you all abreast of what's going on. Oh, I guess I should comment on Circle of Orion. It's kind of on a hiatus at the moment, but that's mostly, again, because I'm working on Omega, and stuff that I work on Omega will replicate over to Circle of Orion as it is developed. So, all right. Well, with that, thanks to those of you who came here, and I hope you, if you want, we'll give the the dev branch and the templates a try. Let me know what you think. And in the meantime, I'll keep on working. So I will talk to y'all